Hi, my name is Soile, and you're listening to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective. Welcome back, and thanks for the overwhelming amount of comments you left on my episode Instagram post. I'm thinking you liked this episode, or you hated it and you just wanted to let me know. I've skimmed some of the comments. I'll get into them in a few, but let me just give you a few of my thoughts of the episode. Well, first of all, I really liked it. I think it was another excellent episode, and I enjoyed all of the storylines. It was nice to see a different kind of source in the show. And I really like that the Azores sort of brought in this theme of the episode, torn between two worlds. Like, for example, Lisa was about to leave again, and there was some tension between her and Jack because of that. And then Tim and Jessica were in New York, and that was also kind of a two separate worlds. Like in Tim's case, he was the cowboy in the city, and then Jessica had her friends there. She had brought Hudson and Tim with her, so she was able to show her friends the other side of her life. Let me just start with the Jack and Lisa storyline. I really liked it. I think Sean and Jessica gave incredible performances again, but I feel like at this point, I'm happy with how they've dealt with this long distance relationship, and I'm hoping they're moving forward with other topics with the couple. Part of the reason why I've always loved season 7 episode 14 is because Jack and Lisa are out of their element in it, and that's just really exciting to see. And I'm hoping that they're gonna bring in more of that kind of storylines for them, because I think we've seen enough babysitting and them having struggles because of the long distance or being apart and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that the rest of the season will bring them something new. Then the Jessica, Tim, Shane storyline. I was a bit nervous seeing that Ezra was going to be featured, because usually whenever there's another male presence around some guy's girlfriend, wife, or whatever, it's usually rooted in some kind of jealousy thing, and there's like macho elements and all that kind of stuff. So I was happy to see that was not the case with Ezra, even though Tim thought it was a bit awkward at first. I even like that when Ezra messed up with Jessica, it wasn't Tim that felt like he needed to take care of the business for Jessica, but more like him saying like, you need to figure this out and do it right and fix your mistake, because you're the only one who can do it. And so again, Tim has really grown as a character. I really love that. And it was nice to see Jessica's city life, stuff we've been hearing about but haven't seen before. So I really enjoyed that. And even though they were in New York, which is very different from Hudson and what we're used to seeing on the show, it didn't feel too isolated, maybe because New York has always sort of been this presence in the show because of Lou and now with Jessica and other reasons. And it was actually fun to tag along with the characters, because usually when they go to Florida or Europe or wherever, we don't usually get to see that. So it was nice to actually see what they were doing instead of just hearing about it in the next episode. And I'm just really enjoying Tim and Jessica's relationship, how they support each other, and how well they play together. So I think this was a big step for both of them, and I'm just interested to see more of them this season. As for Parker, I really loved her in this episode. I thought she was cute. She reminds me of early season Mallory, which I don't mind, even though I'm not always necessarily a fan of kind of reusing old characteristics in new characters, but I think she's still her own character, so it didn't bother me that much. And I really liked Ava stepping up in this episode and seeing more of Parker and how she's become part of the family at this point. And then we had a storyline with Amy working with Finn on the side, and it's like this forbidden love experience for me because I really love seeing them together. I think they work together beautifully, but I also know that there's a due date for that. So I'm holding myself back from loving them, and it's really sad because this was supposed to be something wonderful, and now it's just kind of like something that really makes me sad. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. One of the things I really noticed in this episode is that the show is so beautifully shot. First of all, there's these sceneries that we get to see, but also the colors and just like these moments, and it's such a candy for eyes. So I just wanted to say that because it was something I really thought about during this episode. Like even the New York bits, Tim going after Shane and all that, like the building, and it was really beautiful. So I just wanted to mention that because oftentimes people forget that there's a hardworking crew behind the scenes who makes this all happen and really makes Heartland. I mean, we see the acting, but we don't really think about the process and how it all comes together. So I really appreciate everything they do for the show. But enough about me. Let's get into your comments. We start with Nina's comment. I was the lone person who wasn't laughing with the flying horse last episode and having heart palpitations thinking about if I ever had to evacuate mine. LOL. But this episode was wonderful. I really like the slower pace it took, and I feel like it sets up beautifully for the next episodes. Gonna get the sad out first. Loved Finn in this episode again. As any good horse person knows, no hoof, no horse. The concept of a horse whisperer in a farrier is so amazing. They really do have so many things in common. A good farrier has excellent feel for horses, and Finn is right. Bad feed can really make a horse, or Zors, lol, unhappy and even cause behavioral issues. Amy and Finn are so beautiful together. It's just not fair. But also, what's with him magically appearing at the center? Like, alright, are we seeing the human ghost now? The source is definitely more horse than zebra. It's giving Mongolian horse vibes. Ah, what can you do? Tim in New York City with a cowboy hat. Classic. Oh, but the reunion with Shane. So realistically painful, so beautiful. I'm so glad he went after him. I hope we see Shane back at the ranch soon. Poor Jess. I feel so bad that her gallery didn't go well. It's so sad. I can't figure out if Ezra is a jerk or an idiot, villain or a foe. Both? Nope. Can't handle Jack crying, or Finn obviously falling in love. Just leave me here to cry. And then they continued, just wanted to add again about Shane. I really think they nailed it. The awkwardness, the emotions, the tension, you could feel it. And when Tim went after him, God, yeah, I totally agree with the Shane stuff. I mean, you could really feel the awkwardness and like you were like, oh, how is he gonna get out of this? And what is Shane gonna say? And you know, how can this end in a good way? And I really think they nailed that. I just felt this like secondhand awkwardness for them both, and I was really, I mean, it's a start. I was happy with the Shane stuff within this episode. I think it was a good start. I think it was exactly what I would imagine it to be. But then there's the other side, which is that I don't think we're going to get more Shane, which makes it a bit disappointing. As it was in this episode, I really liked it. And not only do I want to see Shane because of Tim saying that they're going to do the rest of the stuff together from now on. But I also want to see Sam Duke back because I think he really has improved as an actor, and I was interested to see more of him and his performance, and obviously who he thinks Shane is now and how he would show that to us. So, yeah. Then we have a comment from Stephanie. Here are my thoughts on the episode. The way Finn looks at Amy in the last scene makes me so emotional. It's heartbreaking their story won't get to play out exactly how the writers originally intended. Regardless, I love their scenes together, the teasing, the subtle flirting he did in the ring. It was pretty cute. They work together so well. I just love anything with Finn in it. I really do want to learn more about his past. His comments about feeling like he's torn between two worlds is intriguing. I hope we get to learn what that all means. I absolutely love the Jack and Lisa stuff this episode. They're showcasing that long distance relationship aren't easy. It's always something a couple will have to work through when only one of the partners are traveling for work. I know some people feel like it's getting repetitive, but I feel like it's pretty realistic. It's always going to be hard on both of them while the other is away, so it's a constant conversation and process that they'll have to get through daily. So I personally didn't mind it too much. Both their scenes in the loft and by the bond were just so well done, it made me tear up. When Jack got choked up, that was really the icing on the cake for that scene. As always, Sean and Jessica showcased their acting abilities beautifully. They really do have amazing on screen chemistry. Shane and Tim scene. Their first conversation together felt so stiff and cold. I realize that's the point, since there's been a passage of time since they've last seen each other. I'm so thankful Jessica encouraged Tim to go after Shane and set things right with him. Their scene on the street was a really sweet moment. I hope we can continue to see him because it felt like that storyline just wasn't finished yet. I want to see them become close again. Plus, to try and hear Tim explain everything that's changed the past 8 years. I can't remember exactly how long it's been. Could be really entertaining. I'm thankful Tim did tell Jessica about Shane. I know some of us were joking about how Tim would have told her, and I couldn't help but think of that when I was hearing Jessica and Tim talk about Shane. Overall, I did really enjoy this episode. As always, looking forward to seeing what's in store for next week. Yeah, I know the time is kind of running out with Finn, but I also would like to know what he means by that. Now, obviously, we know he has family elsewhere, and that's probably the thing, but I think there's more to it, and it would be shame if we didn't get to learn what that is exactly. As for the Jack and Lisa stuff, yeah, I was thinking like how this is probably something they always seem to do before having to go separate ways. I think it was maybe Lou and Peter sort of had a similar thing in the past. Like whenever Peter was maybe leaving, they would pick up fights or something like that, and then it would kind of make it easier for them to be apart. Or am I remembering this all wrong? But basically, I feel like the tension about Lisa leaving was kind of coming out, and they were giving each other sort of dirty looks because it was like, okay, like what's with the attitude? And I think that's realistic. And maybe they haven't really dealt with that before. And now Parker's sort of forced them to deal with it because this couldn't go on. I mean, maybe if they hadn't done that, it would keep repeating over and over again, even after this. And I think they needed that sort of moment where they had to really face what they were dealing with, how they were feeling, and really just going like, okay, so what are we going to do about this? And I really love the scene by the Bond. I mean, it was pretty much something out of a fan fiction. And I really love the combination of directing and the performance when Jack looks up and sees the plane and he just gets all choked up. It's just one of those things that we usually don't get to see in TV shows. I don't know how to really explain it, but it's just one of those things in real life when you see something and it's very subtle, but it really moves you. So I really, really like that little moment, like how that sort of really gave you an idea what was going on in Jack's mind. And, Sean keeps blowing me away every week. I also wanted to mention about the Shane and Tim storyline when Jessica was like, go after him, fix what you can. I don't think Tim even really knew what he was going to say, but he just knew that it was now or never, and he just had to do something. And I really loved how they did it, like Tim going like, I don't know what to say, but like, just I need you to know that I care about you a lot and I've missed you. And I think the hug was the answer. And you could see Shane resisting, but then kind of clutching on to Tim. Like we could get a sense of missing from him as well. So, really strong performances in this episode. Then we have a comment from Smoking Holsters. I enjoyed the episode, but it certainly wasn't my favorite this year. Nice seeing Clint as always, but I'm lost as to why he's managing a ranch in a shirt and a tie, and what actually happens at the center is beyond me. Maybe one day they'll explain the whole thing. I thought the Tim and Jessica storyline was good. I'm glad Tim didn't go all jealous, and I love the way they support each other. Not too big a fan of Ezra myself, and I'm tired of seeing city folk portrayed the way they do in the show. The vast majority of people are not self-centered assholes, though they do exist. I think the whole Shane story is light somehow, and while I'm sure it happens, it seems almost anticlimactic that the loss of contact was because they lived apart, basically. These days, it's almost unbelievable. Send a text, send an email, and again, are we really supposed to believe that no one ever reached out? Lou, Amy, Shane, or Tim? It was well acted, and I'm glad they did it the way they did, with them both freezing up at first. I wonder if Amy and Lou will even hear about the whole Shane thing, since neither Tim nor Shane actually mentioned the sisters, let alone Georgie or Lindy, neither of whom he has ever met, as far as we know. Anyway, Tim's redemption tour is in full swing and doesn't seem to be slowing down. I like it. I like the source storyline until Amy just gives up and lets it go. I get it, but it went from how can I help to let's let it run wild pretty quick. I'm so torn up by the Finn story. If I let myself get lost in the episode, I'm shocked back into reality when it's done. I really want to hear his story, which sounds painful, while his character dances around it, and at the same time, knowing the real life story is heartbreaking. I'm both hoping and dreading to hear it. This probably won't go over well with the cheesy crowd, and yes, the scenes were cute and adorable, and they're so cute together, but the storyline is tiring. A three-show arc, all to hear Lisa say, I miss you when I travel. Really? I half expected her to say, nothing stopping you from coming along every now and then, maybe see me in some of my new clothes. But no. First, because he won't go, and second, because he won't like the people, the food, or anything about what she does. What he wants is what he gets 95% of the time and complain about her cooking, babysitting, and doing general home care. Glad it's over for now. Then no context Heartland said, I actually was very satisfied with Shane's appearance, which is nice because that's something I had been worried about how the show might handle it. I feel like it covered a lot of territory, and I would love to see Shane mentioned or having more future appearances to really cement that they both mean it when they say they'll work to keep that connection. I also loved Jessica throughout the episode. I think it really highlighted how good she and Tim are for each other. Michelle Nolan is so talented, and I think she could have screen chemistry with a wall. She did amazing this episode. Gisa was good this episode, and please nobody kill me. I don't usually care for them as much myself, but this episode drew me in more to them than normal. Loved Parker's involvement this episode in their storyline as well as just standing on her own without needing Katie as the other half of her little duo. Ava did a great job, and I always love to see her on my screen. The Zors, OMG. I was skeptical about this going in, but I think they did a good job with what early seasons Heartland did a lot of, tying the horses' issues to the overarching story slash characters. In this case, there were so many parallels regarding two worlds, the source and its struggles as Amy tries to sort that out, Lisa and her work world versus her home world, Jessica and Hudson versus New York. Even Finn seems to have some kind of parallels, and I hope we get to explore that. Also, can we talk about how dramatically Amy dropped that rope? LMAOOO. Yeah, I was like, okay, like what is gonna happen now? Like, why was the drop of the rope so dramatic? Like, is it gonna fix the sores somehow? Is he gonna injure himself in it? Like, what's going on? And then it was just like interesting choice of directing. I would like to see what the script actually says when it comes to that scene. Then Heartland, Lisa PFC says, and before I read this, I'm afraid because Lisa threatened me with putting heart words in it. So I don't know if she did, but we'll see. Another long one, sorry. The opening scene, Amy sounded like proud mom when she spoke to Logan, but I think Logan needed to hear that someone was proud of him too. I do like Logan and Amy working together. Hearing Jack talking about the fishing cabin and saying it's not up to Lisa's standards after Lisa showed interest in going set it up for Jack not liking the two separate worlds Lisa has. I do wish we get a fishing cabin episode again. Would be nice for them to revisit it as a nice little getaway in a place that means something to them. Jack and Lisa having dinner in the loft arranged by Parker was cute. She really wants to do something nice for them. I think Parker has a good connection with Jack since she arrived in season 14 bonding over Mickey being a paint horse. I do also think Parker listening to Jack and Lisa may also resonate with Parker's life. We know Parker is related to Jade as step siblings, which means Parker probably witnessed her own parents' marriage break down. Seeing Lisa and Jack disagreeing, it may make her want to help resolve that, wanting to repay Jack and Lisa for how they've made her feel so welcomed at Heartland. She feels part of their family in a way and probably doesn't want to lose that too, hence wanting everyone to have their happy ever after. I love how Jack and Lisa do communicate and talk things through. Sean and Jessica have a great connection and understanding. Their last scene was the best. The emotions in the voice, the looks, it had everything for a Jesus scene. That's a really good point about Parker. I mean, when I saw the scene where they're having dinner and everyone's kind of like doing their own thing, and Jack and Lisa have this tension between them, and Parker's kind of like observing what they're saying, I only thought that, because she's an outsider, she sees that more freshly compared to the others who probably keep seeing that every time music goes away. But this point actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to stick to it. And then they continued. Love the gallery scenes with Tim and Jessica. Not an Ezra fan. He's definitely the stereotypical city guy and not easy to warm up to. Love the 5-minute bromance with Ezra and Tim, though, and seeing Jessica's face when they are getting along. Love seeing Jessica and Tim supporting each other in Jessica's new venture, and in Tim trying to reconnect with Shane. I really like how Jessica gets the best out of Tim. Tim seems to open up more to Jessica than other people. Love seeing Anne playing Jessica's friend. I'm sure she really needs to visit Jessica at Heartland and get taste of country living, just for the great behind the scenes content and TikToks Aiden could create with them all. Shane's reappearance, I think, was done well. I love the flashback moment for Tim again of Shane trying to rope. You can see the pain Tim is feeling over his mistakes with Shane. Notice the photo Tim had as Shane's contact was still him as a kid, so shows he's not been in contact with no updated pic. First contact with them in the gallery packed this up, as they really didn't know what to say to each other. They were awkward around each other. Jessica telling Tim to go after Shane was great. That connection of the hug was so meaningful, and the words between them owning up to their own mistakes. Tim's growth is immense from that early Tim. This season, at times, it has been more evident than ever. I hope we see more of Shane, as this will be odd if they reconnect the characters to just distance them again. Would make the whole storyline futile. It was nice to see something different with the source and to see how the source's problems related to other stories. Mistreated and needing somewhere safe. Logan's story. Trying to find a place you belong when you are from two different worlds. Jack and Lisa. Then Finn showing he has some feeling of connection to the source. It's like the point of the source was to emphasize what is going on elsewhere. Finn and Amy, I can't watch these scenes without feeling sadness. I think of Robert every single time. I love the scenes between them, the little looks at each other. You can see what the writers could have been building. Finn working on the Zors to help Amy showed how good scenes and storylines could have been. Hearing Finn relating to the Zors and Amy questioning it was an interesting scene as it showed Amy wants to know more about Finn. A touch on Amy's shoulder and the look she gives as he walks away, suggesting she really does have some kind of interest in him. The end scene of Finn watching Amy and her glance over at him was emotional. Hearing the song playing, talk about second chances, made me think it was a second chance for Amy too, as well as the source. I felt like in that moment she was really thinking of giving herself a second chance with Finn. It would have given me excitement, as I could really feel Amy questioning how she feels having Finn around. But with Robert's passing, it fills me with sadness. Yeah, I pretty much agreed with everything, but I just wanted to point out that I really appreciated when Shane and Tim held themselves accountable for not keeping in contact, because it's something we rarely see in the show. And just seeing that little bit of growth so fast was just very fulfilling as a viewer. Then we have a comment for HR Horses. I enjoyed this episode. I think I liked episode 4 and 5 better, but this is a close third. I thought the source thing was an interesting idea, even if that storyline didn't amount to much. I also like how they're being realistic with Peter and Katie going to see Georgie in Florida. I love the Jack and Lisa stuff, as always. Now, anytime Jack tells Lisa that she is beautiful, I only think of Aiden. I love, love, love how they mentioned the fishing cabin and their first date in season 1. It was sweet. Also, we finally got to see them go some sort of date, which is nice, but I'm still holding out to see them go on a date in town for their anniversary or a birthday. The love scene was good, but the bond scene was even better. Again, love the fishing references, and she called him cowboy twice. The way Sean acted that scene and getting all choked up was great. The Tim and Jessica stuff was good this episode too. I love how they support each other. They had a lot of really good scenes. The acting was really well done because I really felt for both of them when both of their aspirations fell through. Her calling Tim my Tim is very sweet. I will say I was pleasantly surprised when Ezra and Tim got along, as I was expecting Tim to hate him. I enjoyed the Shane stuff for the most part. Loved the flashbacks. The first conversation was so awkward, but really loved the hug and the convo after. I love seeing Tim make amends. Even though Finn was hardly in the episode, he still had good scenes. His little touches here and there to Amy were so cute. And the way he would stare at her when she wasn't looking in two different scenes was adorable. I'm also really interested in Finn's story again, based on what he said this episode about being pulled two different ways. I loved seeing Bay's mom as Anne. She was so good, and I laughed when she was hitting on Tim. Also, Jessica sticking her tongue out at Tim was funny. Random last thought, but Amy dramatically dropping the lead rope was a bit much for me. A bit too dramatic. Looking forward to next week. Then Sharon said, I started seeing sincerity in Chris's acting in episode 4, but it really shone through in this episode. I loved the interaction of the first meeting between Tim and Shane and cried in their second interaction, with Tim making the one gesture of hugging Shane and their separation melted away with that one gesture. It was a very moving scene, in my opinion. Ezra. By thinking he was doing the right thing, he actually hurt Jessica by describing her work as a hobby. I feel that this will make her more determined to succeed, like she did in New York. Jack and Lisa. I'm glad that Lisa told Jack how she felt about leaving, but why can't Jack go with her for a short time? Of course he won't, as he would have to leave the ranch. I mean, the man hardly goes into Hudson. Jack thinks about how Lisa's trips affect him, not even considering Lisa's feelings. Seriously, there is nothing of Lisa in the ranch house, not even a coffee cup. Then again, there is nothing of Lou and Amy in the ranch house. It's all Jack and Lindy. Amy and Finn. The subtle way Finn kept touching Amy's arm, him opening up how he lives between two worlds, Amy's expression of this insight into Finn. Amy seeing Finn in a different light and Finn seeing Amy. I understand why Amy threw down the rope, frustrated and not knowing what to do and how he was mistreated at the zoo. Is it possible to get rid of the big glasses on Parker and make her look like a 12-year-old? At least they let her have her hair down. Another good episode. P.S. Love Bay's mom hitting on Tim as the new Kevin Costner. Looking forward to the next episode. Then Alberta Dream said, a lot has been said in the comments already, and unfortunately I don't have the time to write a whole essay here. Then the winky face. But I wanted to come back and just say simply that the Jesus scene at the end of the episode was the most beautiful declaration of love, and I want to say a big, big thank you to the writers that came up with this and finally give us such wholesome Jesus scenes. The love Jack and Lisa share. You can see it in their eyes, and it's the most beautiful thing. They have come a very long way, and it's so fulfilling to see how much they still feel and care for each other. Such great chemistry. Thank you for giving us the scene. It's a good point. Like they've been a couple since season one, but they're still very much in love. And I think even when they were kind of cold toward each other, it was just like interesting to watch because deep down you know that they love each other, but that's just how relationships are. Like sometimes you're being a little bit mean or you don't really say the right thing and all that kind of stuff, but then you realize it's coming from a place where you're frustrated with the situation and it's not really about the person at all. Then SG Gianna said, I love this episode. Season 16 has been wonderful. Then S. Davidson 571 said, it was amazing. The Zorax horse the Zorax horse was interesting. I think you meant source, but yeah. Love Lindy and Amy. I especially love Shane and Tim bonding scenes. Then Gifty Sage said, my favorite episode in a long time. There's often a perception that Jack doesn't open up to Lisa, but she is equally, maybe more, guilty of hiding things from him. Medical tests, money. So it's nice to see a two-way conversation. There really does need to be a succession plan for Fairfield. I think it possibly would have been Georgie if she'd still be around. I'm hoping this doesn't signal another long exodus for Lisa, though, because I'm really, really over that. Love the throwback to the season 1 fishing trip. Nice to see Shane again, and I thought the New York exhibition was handled realistically. It's difficult to watch Amy and Finn, but it was all very beautifully done. It's just so sad. And Lisa Can Forever said, most of my thoughts about this episode have already been mentioned, so just a few additions. Tim should be running out of regrets by now, or how much more guilt is this man carrying? If Lisa stops traveling, this might open up an opportunity for Georgie to take over and allow Alicia a part-time role. Love the long-awaited Tim Shane hug. Laughed about Jessica's tongue out, and I have a heavy heart when watching Finn knowing that his storyline has been cut short, and thinking about the loss Rob's family is going through. Really enjoyed this episode and the Jessica Tim relationship because I have been waiting since season 1 for this version of Tim we get to watch now. Yeah, that's a long time. Then Langion? Mike, either Langiwan or Langion, said, loved the episode. Great to see Tim and Shane reunite. Amber was great as usual. Then Dip said, Amy, on her own, invites two teenagers to the supper table. Is she not considered capable of providing a meal for four? Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. Food manages to find its way to the table when they are not there. Then Demo Dan Costa 85 said, with no more Ty and Amy, the writers are forced to go deeper with other characters. The show has several veteran, talented actors who are capable of making the show enjoyable to watch. Lots of people keep saying the intent of the writers is to pair up Amy and Finn, but we don't know that for sure, especially when I see Amy still wearing a wedding ring in behind the scenes photos lately. Yes, there appears to be chemistry, but is Amy ready to move on? I don't think so. Then Seldon's said, another really strong episode. I especially loved Jack and Lisa's storyline. Loved hearing them talking about missing each other. Tim and Jessica's storyline was lovely too. Tim has really grown and Jessica is so good to him. Don't know what to think about Ezra though. Seeing Finn and Amy together hurts a bit more every time. I get attached to them more and more, and it really sucks to know that in one way or another their story comes to the end way faster than it probably was meant to. Then Chris Tim Heartland said, another great episode. Loved the Source story, and I can't believe Amy gave up on him so easily. She wasn't even trying hard enough. Love seeing Finn. He has an easiness and calmness around him. I don't know how to explain it. Robert was a natural. The little looks he was throwing Amy's way, the little touches were just beautiful to watch. Love how supportive Tim and Jessica are of each other and how proud Tim is of Jessica and her new career. When Jessica introduced him as my Tim and Anne was instantly flirting with him was adorable and funny at the same time. He does look good in a suit, doesn't he? I think Ezra might have some ulterior motives helping Jessica. Maybe he'll quit his little game seeing how happy Jess is with Tim. Well, Ezra did not win me over like he did with Tim. To be honest, I was expecting Tim to be jealous, but I was pleasantly surprised how friendly and funny he was with Ezra. We know Tim wouldn't do anything to jeopardize Jessica's success. And seeing Jessica so sad and disappointed that none of the critics showed up was very touching. Love the Tim and Shane reunion. That being so awkward in the beginning was very realistic. And I just loved Jessica supporting Tim in making amends with his son. That hug said more than 1,000 words, and the way Tim owed up his past mistakes showed enormous character growth. I just hope it's not one step forward, two steps back, because the writers tend to do that with Tim. The Jack and Lisa scenes were so sweet, and the last one by the stream was probably my favorite. I guess we won't see, or even being mentioned, Jack traveling with Lisa, not even between seasons, anyways. I love Jack and Lisa. They are my favorite couple, just like Tim and Jessica, but I would love to see Jack making an effort in supporting his wife when she's traveling, not only at home. Jack said in season 11 that Tim hated traveling as much as he did, but that doesn't stop Tim from traveling with his wife and being there for her when she needs him the most. Season 16 is going strong and I'm loving it. Looking forward to the next episode. Then the story chemist said, an episode jam-packed with fascinating nuances of relationship dynamics. Tim hit it out of the park with both supporting Jessica and making amends with Shane. His portrayal of the cowboy husband that's steadfast and supporting was amazing. His admirable in acceptance of his faults with Shane was so beautiful to see. The only male character that can admit his faults and not have a justification for it to make it an unknown apology. Jessica was duped by her beloved friend Ezra, whom obviously had ulterior motives to get her to move back to New York and was not interested in her new career choice or was rather dismissive of it. Her encouragement to Tim to make things right was very much needed. Amy, Logan, and Parker with the Source was so wonderful to see. The way they let the Source dictate its destiny was profound. This, for Amy, is a character development point as before she's always wanted to tame a creature instead of respecting the path the animal wants to take. Jack doesn't feel Lisa loves him or misses him. What? The woman gave up her Fairfield mansion to live in a house with one bathroom and no privacy. The woman dresses down and has dressed down her entire life to not rock the boat. Does this not scream love and I want to be with you? Lisa has nothing she can call her own in that house. She's like a guest exchange student. Exchange students live in a house but do chores like laundry and cook, but aren't really a part of the family. They're there but treated as useful outsiders while they're within sight. To me, it's always felt like Jack didn't miss or care that Lisa left. At every point in their relationship, it was Lisa moving it forward, putting her heart on the line. That line about the fishing cabin not being Lisa ready really irritated me. Lisa loves the finer things in life, but loves Jack more because she doesn't complain about not having that lifestyle 24/7 and tries to embrace the ranch lifestyle. That wasn't her upbringing. The woman changed her entire life for him, but it still isn't enough. And then they continued. Smoking holsters was right. We can see the seeds of Lisa giving the boot to her yet set horse breeding career to please Jack. Would a man ever be expected to do this? A woman's career, it seems, is unimportant. Sorry, I forgot women are second class citizens, and anything they do career wise is of no value to society in a man's eyes. Anyway, the way the show portrayed Jack and Lisa in this episode was different, but the acting was absolutely on point. The tension throughout the episode was well done by both, and the ending, they both nailed it. They really do have that on screen chemistry when playing across each other. They're great actors that I feel the show is misusing them and not doing their character relationship dynamics justice with these ridiculous out of track character storylines. Still, a very nice episode. Love the podcast and we'll be waiting for the next one. Then a comment from MC Loves Heartland. The Source storyline was really interesting. I like how they are doing a lot of different storylines this season, things we haven't ever seen anything like them. Though I couldn't help wondering if it was just a normal horse painted to look like a source. It was. I felt conflicted because I also wanted to keep the magic of TV alive. I'm on board with what a few people have said about the rope dropping. I was kind of confused about why it was so dramatic. Like, was the source going to spook or what? The Shane storyline was really well done. I like how he was kind of going back and forth about seeing Tim. Not only was it good drama, but it also showed human tendencies. The awkwardness of their first conversation was realistic. I loved their second conversation. It made me emotional. I was glad when I heard Jessica mention Shane's name because I know I was not the only one worried that she was not going to know about him. I'm glad she did know. It would make Tim look like a terrible husband if she didn't. Although the Shane storyline was perfectly, I did feel that it was a little too short for me. I guess that's because I was expecting a drawn out storyline out of Shane's return. I'm glad we finally got closure to that storyline and hope Tim mentions him now that they are back in touch. The Jack and Lisa scenes were amazing. The conflict between them slowly resolving was great. I love seeing scenes with just the two of them. The ending scene was so sweet. Parker trying to help was really nice. I like how her character is growing a lot this season. I found this episode had a theme of two worlds. The title probably should have been Best of Both Worlds or something like that. And then they added, I have to add that I was devastated for Jessica. What Ezra did wasn't right, and he should have known how important that event was to her. It made me really sad seeing Jessica basically cheated and lied to. And then lastly, I'm William 59 said, so sad there's only one more episode with Amy and Finn somewhat of a couple. This weekend, Jake and Mallory are back at Heartland. Oh boy, what are we in store for? Yeah, what are we in store for? Let's take a look. So episode 7 airs tomorrow on November 13th, and it's called Vigil. The description says, a storm leads to a sad goodbye. Amy thinks her worst fears about Finn have come true. Lou reads Katie's journal without permission. So in the preview, we saw that Peter is back and Lou's telling him that Katie has a crush on an older guy, which I'm assuming is Logan, but let's not go there yet. Then we see Amy looking at a horse in a field who has apparently passed away. We see Mallory return. So it seems like there's going to be fun times and sad times and some trauma as always. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So far, season 16 has been amazing, and I hope we continue to have really good episodes like this. And I'll meet you here again next week. Until then, keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. See ya.